Happy Christmas. I hope you're all well. Clearly, this was my idea, and clearly, this was my idea. Very clearly, it was my idea. I hope you're all well this lovely Christmas morning. The things we do, The things we do. I'm rebelling. I'm wearing my black. I've got my skull cup just to rebel against a bit. I don't know who I'm kidding. I love Christmas. I hope you've all been well. Welcome to our last show of 2019, which is absolutely crazy. This is episode number 73. It's our Christmas special. Thank you so much for helping keep this going for 73 episodes. It's been really, really enjoyable, fun time. And I love interacting with people and getting your feedback and interaction. So me and Santa are going to hang out for a little bit. And I hope you're all well. You see, for you guys, you're seeing this, but I'm also seeing this as well. And no doubt my good friends will take a lot of time and effort to send me photographs and still shots of this. So I will, this is going to be a fun Christmas for me, purely based on this hat and Santa joining me. Anyway, we've got some Christmas questions. I was hoping to do another one next week, but this is the one. We won't get to have one next week, unfortunately. But look, you all deserve a Christmas break, and I deserve a Christmas break. I'm feeling a lot more awake than I expected to. Mr. Andrew Hosier Byrne kept me awake last night, dancing very badly, doing dad dancing up at the 3 Arena in Dublin last night, which was a great show. It was a great night. Well done, Hosier. I hope tonight goes just as well for you. I thought it was a fantastic show. I've seen him only in kind of small venues, so it was nice to see him in something bigger and see how he got on. So he did a great job. Christmas questions. Very quickly though, I do want to say thank you to all my patrons this Christmas. You have been fantastic this year. I started the Patreon page hoping that it would help to fund these podcasts and these videos and stuff, and it's definitely gone some way to helping to keep them rolling, so I appreciate it so much. Patreon.com/Alan Donahue, not the /Alan Donahue podcast. What I will say is, if you're not a patron, maybe sign up to be a patron. Who knows? There might be a Christmas treat coming for you. Maybe. Can't promise anything. But if you have €1 to spare, maybe throw it my way. And if you're ever going to do it, now might be the time to do it. Just in preparation for Christmas. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Anyway. But thank you, everyone, for the support over the year. I'm just... The comments are popping up. I look great. I'm not so sure, Bianca. No, Anita, no Christmas jumper. I'm not a Christmas jumper man. This is the best you're going to get out of me. Bianca, it brings out a true smile. I'm sure it does, and a lot of people having a good old laugh. And Caitlin having a good old laugh at the love the hat. Thanks very much. Right, let's get down to the questions, the reasons that we're here. First off, how do I teach my 14-year-old son the difference between being brutally honest, his phrase, and knowing when it's better to just keep your mouth shut? And a follow-up to that is, how do I keep my teenage sons from constantly insulting each other over Christmas? Right. The reason, so it's slightly Christmassy, but it's also more general. But I thought, being Christmas, I thought it's important to answer this one because there's going to be Christmas conflict in a lot of houses out there. There is going to be disagreements, there's going to be arguments, there's going to be fighting, and especially when family are coming over, friends are coming over, everyone's just coming around for the Christmas period. And it's very intense, like everyone's together for a lot of time over a very short space of time, because I think that's something that we all forget, is that Christmas is such a short period of time. It really is. And we fit in so much visiting, so much welcoming people, so much time spent with friends. And a lot of people come home for Christmas, which is so much fun, but it also adds to the pressure of having to meet up with them and spend time. And not that we don't enjoy it, we do enjoy it, but it's just busy. It just adds to the busyness. So I think it's really important to kind of address the Christmas conflict side of things and how we can do that. Right. First part of your question is, how do I teach my 14-year-old son the difference between being brutally honest and knowing when it's better to just keep his mouth shut? And it's funny, it's something I would come across a lot with parents, where the whole way through a child's life, a parent is kind of saying, I want you to speak your mind and I want you to have your voice. And that's really important. Like, it's so important for our kids to have their voice and to know that they can be heard. But we forget that sometimes they don't know what the social norms are. They don't necessarily understand what the social norms are. So we've taught them to speak their mind and say what's on their mind. And then they do it when they get older, and their opinions are forming more. They are becoming sometimes more extreme in their opinions. So sometimes we can find that, especially nowadays, because the internet is there for kids, that they can find out any information they want. A lot of it false, a lot of it true, but it starts to get them thinking about, well, where do I fit in all this? And hold on, well, I've got something to say in all this, and this is really important. And sometimes that doesn't go too well, because sometimes we have to say, well, maybe there's a time and a place to be honest. And I personally, I think the phrase brutally honest is not very fair to people, because people use the term brutally honest from the perspective of, I can say whatever I want because I'm just being honest. But what you might be saying may be extremely hurtful. It may be quite derogatory. It could be racist. It could be homophobic. It could be anything like that. It could be construed as being abusive. But we allow ourselves to say it and get away with it because we're just being brutally honest. And sometimes that's not okay. And it's important for us to try and teach our kids the difference. So for this moment, you do have a bit of work. You have a bit of work to do in terms of looking at, well, helping your child to understand what's appropriate honesty. Because if we were to walk around all day and say to someone, those jeans make your ass look fat. Way too much makeup on today. Put on a few pounds, have we? That's not necessarily our place to say, because it's just our opinion, and our opinion may not actually be correct. It may not be fair, and it may actually be disingenuous. So it's important to talk about respect, and it's something I bang on about over and over and over, is respect. The most important thing, for me as a parent, and I would suggest for any parent, is to teach our kids to respect themselves and respect other people. I say it all the time. You're probably sick of hearing me say it. But we need to teach them what respect looks like, because it's all well and good for us to say, you need to respect people. But if they don't know what that is, or how that looks, or what that actually entails, then it's going to be difficult for them to actually follow through on it. So it's important for us to actually take that step back and go, well, what do they need to know? So maybe for your son, what he needs is to be sat down and gone through what is fair and appropriate honesty. Because it's not okay to abuse people. It's not okay to say things that are hurtful just because they were your opinion, and doesn't mean your opinion is always right. So it's so important that we actually sit down and look at, well, what are the things that my child is doing? So for you sit down and see, what's he doing when it comes to this brutal honesty? What is he saying? Who is he saying it to? And is it appropriate? Because there will be times where he needs to shut up and not say something, because what will happen is he will say something to somebody who will not be happy about it and may just turn around and go, give him a dig. He might say it to a police officer. He might say it to somebody that is extremely violent. And what's going to happen then? Unless your son is kind of an MMA superstar, there's a good chance they may end up in hospital. So it's these type of cues, it's the social cues that we need to teach our kids that will help them to navigate their way through life as best as you can, because at the end of the day, If he ends up getting a dig in the head because he's being brutally honest with someone, well, maybe that's just life. Maybe that's just what happens and he learns a lesson. Okay, so all the stuff Mum's been telling me for a long time, this is why she's been telling me it. Because here I am with a black eye or a busted nose or a busted lip. So maybe I will think twice about doing this in the future. So maybe natural consequences are the way forward for your child. But you can try and preempt that by sitting down and speaking to him about appropriate behaviour in social situations and why a brutal honesty is not necessarily okay or fair on other people. Because we don't know what mental state or mental health other people are in. Or maybe it's just not nice to slag people off sometimes over what they wear, how they look, how they act, because they've done nothing to you. It's just you making an opinion, and it may not be okay. So sit him down. Well, for yourself, sit down first of all and look at what are the behaviours that he needs to change. Sit down with him, talk to him about them, put the appropriate consequences in place for him to try and encourage him not to, and then let the chips lie wherever they might fall. So if he ends up getting, a couple of digs, then life is going to tell him you don't say things to people. Certain things to people or to certain people. Second part, and I'm assuming this involves the same person, is how do I keep my teenage boys from constantly insulting each other over Christmas? Well, so there's a thing here for us where we need to look at ourselves, and possibly for you and for many parents out there, Christmas is an extremely stressful time because, and in my experience, especially for mums, because mums do pretty much most of the organising, and I say that most as a generalisation, but in my experience they do most of the organising for Christmas, whether that's presents, whether that's food, whether that is the children, whatever it might be, they do most of the organising. So it's really important that you look at your own stress levels. So what is causing me the most stress right now? Why is it causing me stress? And what can I actually do to reduce that stress? And if part of it is your kids, your teenage sons bickering, maybe it is about sitting them down before Christmas and saying, right lads, this is the situation. If you and you are constantly bickering, this is what's going to happen. And I don't want any shit. I don't want to listen to any shit. This is the way it is. You and you, if this happens, if this bickering starts, you are going to lose this, or you're going to have to do this, or whatever it might be, and make sure that the consequence is hard-hitting enough that it makes them go, that is way worse than actually bickering with him. And then look at, well, what are the cues? Like, you know your kids best. So what are the environmental factors, we call it that, the environmental factors that might contribute to them bickering? Is it them being in close quarters all the time with very little chance to separate and have time apart? If that's the case, well then maybe it's okay for you to look at keeping them apart, because that's the other thing. We take everybody into our lives, all our friends, all our family over Christmas, and it's fantastic and it's good. But it pushes us into a situation where we can feel quite trapped. I'm not going to lie. I love my family, I love my friends, but there are times over Christmas I love locking the front door and not leaving or letting anybody else in, where we just stick movies on and it's just me and my wife and my children. That is blissful to me, and it helps with the congestion of Christmas, and it helps me manage myself during Christmas, because I'm not feeling the stress and I know I have these things coming up that I can, or these moments coming up where I can take myself away and just be with my little family. So that's something for you to look at. If your teenage sons, and let's be honest, they're, this is what they're like. They're little alpha males. They're trying to assert who is the dominant one, and especially if you've got a 14-year-old and an older one. The 14-year-old might be getting bigger, and for the first time ever he might be the same size or close enough size to his older brother. And he might maybe getting physically bigger, and he's finding his voice, and he's been able to say, oh, hold on a minute, I've had 14 years of you beating the living daylights out of me, or being the bigger brother. Well, guess what? I'm going to get my own back. So they're jostling for position in the family, and then all of a sudden we push them into the situation where they have to spend more and more time together. Let's not be surprised if they clash, or they fight, or they explode. So maybe it's okay to let them have their time apart, and you look at what are the things that will contribute to them bickering. And you'll know them. It's just sometimes we don't think about it because we only deal with things in the here and now, in the moment. So maybe it's okay to sit back and go, well, what are they? Is it them having to, share a bedroom? Are they, like, if they do share a bedroom, do they get a chance to be apart? If they share a console, do they have to share that as well? Like, what are the things that contribute to them having that bickering? Now, there's always going to be the natural bickering, but look at what the factors are. Try and reduce those or counteract those, and then give them the consequence for being little shits sometime. I hope that helps. Okay, next one. My 11-year-old son is the last Santa... Parents, here is your caveat. If you're watching this with a child, which I'd be very surprised if you are, maybe take your child away now, or maybe send them into a different room, let them go watch Peppa Pig or SpongeBob or whatever it is they like. What's the new one? PJ Masks or something like that, I think. I've never seen it. Anyway, this might be the time to stop watching with your child or pause, okay? My 11-year-old son is the last Santa believer in the house. Myself and my husband have been wondering whether he actually still believes or not, as he's made a few comments recently that make us wonder, and we know that some of his friends definitely don't believe. Should we just have a conversation with him now and get it out of the way? There's a good chance he'll say, I know, or should we just leave it until next year? For me, this is actually quite a simple one, right? The magic of Santa Claus and the magic of Christmas is wonderful. It is one of the best times as a child, and then you grow up and you stop believing in Santa. And Christmas is still enjoyable, but it changes. And then maybe you have your own kids, and Christmas just comes back with a bang. And we can then just love it. And like, there's nothing like Christmas morning when you're seeing your kids and they open the presents and the wonder and surprise in their eyes. It's just fantastic. And then it stops and changes again. But that's okay. So don't be afraid of it. And we don't need to rush it through either. So maybe, because your child isn't coming to you and saying, is there a Santa Claus? Maybe he doesn't believe, but maybe he just wants to believe, he wants you to believe that he believes for one more year. He's 11. Next year he's going to be 12. You're probably going to be telling him anyway before he moves on into a higher level of school. So maybe this is the last year to just leave it as it is. And if he brings it up, just say, it's whatever you think yourself. If you don't believe anymore, that's okay. It's all right for you not to believe. If you do believe, that's okay too. But I suspect that if he hasn't brought it up just yet, there's a good chance he's not going to bring it up before Christmas. So why would we tell him before Christmas? Just in case he does actually still believe. Just in case. And none of us want to tell a believer 2 weeks to the day before Christmas that there's a reason that, Santa doesn't exist. So it's so important to just maybe leave it as it is and let him believe, or, go along with the charade for another 2 weeks. That's all it is. Tell him straight after if you want. I wouldn't myself. I'd leave it till next year. But, just hold off. And if he brings it up, then you can have the conversation. But I suspect he probably won't, because he might be a bit worried that the good presents will drop off once Santa isn't here. So, hold your horses. There's no panic. He's going to have enough time in his life without having Santa as part of it. Okay, last one of the year. I'm cooking the Christmas dinner for the first time for my family and my in-laws. I am pretty nervous about it, but ultimately I know it's all going to be fine. What I am worried about is being so distracted by being concerned about dinner that I miss the enjoyment my kids have opening their presents. Have you any tips on how I can get everything done and still stay in the present for my children? So I think what I will say is that you've actually done a huge service to yourself and your kids anyway by acknowledging this before it actually happens. So you're concerned now that you're going to be distracted. So you now have an awareness of it. So that way you can choose to stay in the present. So now it's very easy for me to say, okay, you can now stay in the present. But how do you do that? Okay, well, let's take the step back. So sounds like what you want is a block of time where you're not worrying about dinner, where what you're actually doing is just you're sitting down with your kids while they open their presents, like I said in that last answer. The wonder of the Christmas morning with your children is fantastic. There's almost nothing like it. And what you can do is you can say, well, I need to have this, and this done, and look at getting the preparation done before Christmas Day. Can you cook your Christmas ham before the day? Can you cook some of the veg before the day? Can you ask those people coming to maybe bring the desserts, to maybe bring the drinks, to maybe bring the turkey? I don't know, whatever you think yourself. Can you look at getting as much prep done before Christmas morning so that what you're left doing then is less? And that way you can set aside that block of time and then pull in the people who are coming, or pull in your partner, or pull in your mum or your dad or whoever, and get them to maybe help you out. Because you don't have, we have this expectation sometimes of ourselves that we will be just like our parents, and our parents might be the type of people who will feed 20 people and not even blink. And we're sitting back going, how the hell do they actually do that? That's just amazing. And to not see them, worry about it at all. But they've been doing it for years. They've honed everything down so well that they've been doing it for such a long time. That's no problem to them. And it probably is. They probably do get stressed. We just don't notice it because we're so busy enjoying the Christmas. So pull in the help. It's a big step to go and invite people around when you haven't done it before. So kudos to you. But get all the prep done as early as you can. Plan it out. Write it down. Make a realistic plan for how you can manage to get the cooking and stuff done. And then just take that time. And you know what? If dinner ends up being a little bit late, if people have to have another drink in the sitting room while you're cooking the dinner, so be it. Nobody's going to turn around and say, you ruined Christmas because we ate an hour or two later. You shouldn't have spent that time with your children. You should have been cooking for us. No one's going to do that. And if they do, tell them to piss off out of your house because they do not deserve to be there. All right? So it is your Christmas as much as anybody else's. It's you and your kids' Christmas as much as anybody else's. The chances are nobody's going to say anything. Nobody's going to be annoyed. And if they are, that's their problem. Tough. Just have that time for your kids. But do the prep. Plan it out. Write it down. Have your schedule. Whatever's going to work best for you. If you need to put reminders, timers into your phone, into, whatever, your home assistant, whatever it might be, do it. And by home assistant, I mean like your Google Home or your whatever, Alexa or whatever. Not your paid assistant. If you've got a paid assistant, then you have very few problems in terms of getting dinner ready. Okay? So, I hope that helps. And that's us, 2019, done and dusted. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for all the support. I really do appreciate it. Please do support the Patreon page, patreon.com/Aladona Podcasts. There may be a little treat coming for Christmas for you patrons. There may be. If I can sort it out. If I can't, that's going to be okay. But do please sign up and support it. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas. Me and me bah humbug, but I'm not really bah humbug. Skull. I'm going to head off into the distance and have an enjoyable Christmas. Take care, guys.